Well, good afternoon. Another content video. I'm sorry for the absence of videos last week. I was on my deathbed. Big exaggeration, but I was quite ill. So I'm back in and been trying to ease myself back into the classroom and into teaching after a few days off. And I thought I would share with you something that I came across with my lower sixth today. It's not particularly innovative, but it is a tool that I've used to improve my lower sixth teaching. I'm finding with my lower sixth group, it's a wide range of abilities, some silly, some very disciplined, very well organized, some with a high level of existing German, and others who aren't so much, don't perhaps have as much natural talent, but work really, really hard. So it's an interesting class. The thing with lower sixth, so A level, is that they've all chosen to be there. So some of the problems, behavioral issues, you do still have some, but there's a bit more buy-in because they've made that choice to join you on the hard road towards German A level. So Feste und Traditionen, festivals and traditions. One of the things that I'm trying to do with this topic is reflect as closely as I can the chronological calendar of the German-speaking world, if you will. Now, of course, I've had to cherry pick. I've had to choose things and not choose others. But one of those that we're about 2 weeks late here, just because of exams, and I'm trying to balance the Berlin and the festivals topic. So we're about 2 weeks late. But we did Volkstrauertag today, and I should add another thing that I'm discovering with my lower sixth, which one of my heads of department helped me with, is less is more. So spend a bit more time finding a good, meatier, really good, really appropriate, relevant resource, and squeeze as much out of that as possible. You can edit it, you can play around with that, you can manipulate it, but maybe 200 words is appropriate for a lower sixth class as a new resource, and I'll take you through what we did today. So here you can see there is 366. That's more than perhaps I would have hoped for. But as I'll show you, I got this from a really helpful YouTube resource, which you can find here. So learn German with GermanPod101.com. I came across this when I was looking for Volkstrauertag resources. It's actually outstanding, and I'll show you why. It is outstanding because throughout the video, it has a vocabulary list of things that you might want to pick out. And it has also, as you can see, got both subtitles. So in future, if I'm looking for a resource for Feste und Traditionen and German Pod 101 have got it, they've got my vote. I'm probably going to go with them. Now, this has obviously been created and edited by someone who has a mind for language learning, because it reflects, a lot of the format that you might find in a textbook. You've got a minimized vocabulary list. Now, I try and go beyond that with my class. I've got this one text, and we don't just skim over it and move on. We really mine and delve into it so that we understand it. The first thing that I did was we watched this video through twice. So the starter activity was, here's a new video, write down the vocabulary that you come across that you don't know. And because the scaffolding, if you will, the support is there, it's very, very easy for them to get the immediate translation. So appropriate, simple, but appropriate starter activity. Then we listened through it again. And there's obviously, there's 3 minutes of listening there, and it's a nice pace. You've got a very clear enunciation and easy to understand German accent, so no problems there. And then what we did, you will see here, we have a weird, totally incorrectly formatted German transcript, and that came directly from YouTube. Now, if you are wondering how to get that, you just click on the 3 dots and show transcript, and it gives you it here. Now, you go through, copy, paste it, delete all of the time frames. Most of the time, I don't need them. And here you go. You've got a text that in no way represents what a German paragraph or a German piece of writing should look like. And as you can see here, given that the video has so much scaffolding and correct formatting, spelling, capital letters for nouns, etc., which is one of the rules of German, I feel comfortable having the video playing muted. So we've listened to it twice, and then I play the video twice, I think, without the sound on, but they can see it. So they're working on the transcript. Great group work. But then I just silently left it on the board, and then they realized, oh, there's the perfect, there's the perfect example. I can work from that, and that helped them as well. The thing that I really appreciated by having it playing silent in the background is the timing as well. I could say, right, I'm going to give you this activity. I try and do as much target language, particularly with sixth form. I'm going to give you 5-6 minutes. Hey presto, that video is basically 3 minutes long, times 2, 6 minutes. There you go. I sometimes struggle with timing if I've not got my watch, and I forgot my watch today, my little Casio. I struggle with timings. And so I try and rattle along and get, a nice, intense, enjoyably packed lesson. That really worked for me. And that was just something that I picked up, I noticed that I wanted to share with you. I'm surprised by this, but even my sixth formers really don't pick up on cognates and near cognates. So that was one of the activities that we did, the difficult sounds and letter combinations, because again, there's still stuff that they're mispronouncing. So we drill down into the Lego bricks, if you will, of the text. We spent some time on cognates and near cognates, and also some false friends. And then I had them going through, fixing the transcript with a final playthrough, correcting anything that they didn't know. And then the absolute final thing that we did, what I call UDI, unfamiliar, difficult, or interesting. And they had some space up here, kind of continuing the starter activity. And then down here, they had a bit more space. We didn't get onto these two. So that will be my starter activity for next time. The 28th of February, 1926, what was that day? What was the significance of it? You'll write it down here, and I will test them by getting them to write it out in full. So 28. will be written out February 1926. You never write that out in English, but because, it's easier with a foreign language to just assume that you know the number because you see the number, but actually it's one of those little things that make sure you really do know it by forcing yourself to write it down and get the spelling and all of those little letters that you sometimes forget, making sure that they're there. So that will be the starter activity for next lesson. So this is another point that I like to have principles, if you will. I like to have a skeleton for my scheme of work, so I can kind of keep myself going as quickly as my head of department needs to. But there has to be room for flexibility. Either they'll go too quickly, they'll go quicker than I'd anticipated, or there's an opportunity for me to recycle an activity as a starter activity, which we didn't get onto. What I might even do is have a PowerPoint slide or write it on the board. The dates themselves, they need to write them out full. That's the first challenge. And then they also need to go through the text. I might even have jumbled events, dates, whatever happened on, in 1926, and they just need to match them. Maybe, I don't know. I'll give that a bit of a think. But that took up a 45-minute lesson, and they went through that text, and they really knew that text at the end because they'd read through it, they'd listened to it 3, 4, 5 times. In their groups, they'd really dissected the vocabulary. And in terms of prep, you can see I've got a lot more here. The prep for the whole thing took 10 minutes. But here, there's three sets, three Seiten, I was going to say it's page in German, 3 pages, which I haven't used yet. This, it just worked. The prep for this particular bit, because I didn't need to play around replacing letters, putting gaps in, etc., removing spaces. That prep there was probably 2 minutes. The biggest hurdle for me is figuring out what the activities are going to be. So that was what took time. Copy and pasting a transcript over once I'd already found the great resource, and I could put in half an hour, create a whole bunch of activities from that text. that would be helpful. That might be really useful for some classes. But actually, if I can get the same outcome, the same progress with less input by the teacher, not less classroom input. I was very busy in the lesson, but in terms of the resource prep, I created a raw material, if you will, and I let the students refine and process it. And that worked really, really well for them. I must say the reason why it worked is because that video was so good. There was so much scaffolding there. If the video wasn't that good, then I would need to create, either a translation or the corrected text for them to have a look at. You need that before and after that feedback. But because the video was so good, my prep was minimal. So I hope that helps. It's a fairly specific thing, but that's my reflection. My CPD diary for today is this worksheet introducing, a festival and the German calendar, and some activities for low prep, but really, really useful, rewarding activities for my students. All right. So God bless you. Have a lovely rest of day. And I hope that this video, my ramblings, has been of some interest and comedy value to you. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.